Welcome on back to Up North at 4. Joining us now is Cecily Dawson with Lakeland Realty. So, Cecily, I'm going to need you to do a favor for me.
All right.
Real quick. And Jeff, you can help us out here now, too. We're going to put our time machine caps on for a moment.
Okay.
We're going to go back in time. Last time you were on the show, Cecily, was several months ago. And we were talking, this is at the time, seller's market, but the market is going to change, is sort of the big prediction everyone had. So here we are.
Okay, here we are.
April.
Sure.
How has it changed?
Well, it hasn't changed as drastically as some people expected. Even back then, inventory meaning a number of homes for sale, was low.
Right,
and it has continued to be the trend. So last quarter, October, November, December, sales were down statewide and nationwide, really. And the reason being is a supply and demand thing. That's still, even with interest rates being higher than they were, whatever, a year ago or so forth, there's still not enough homes. So supply has been low. And so there hasn't been huge changes. The changes we've seen, I think, are largely because of seasonality. And now heading into spring and summer,
because spring is typically a big home buying season, right? Parents want to get their kids in the right school districts, that kind of thing.
Correct, Jeff. And in our market, which is some of what, it's a summer home market, lake homes, so people who are buying vacation properties, you know, the snow melts in Chicago and they're knocking on our doors wanting to see lake homes up here. So once the ice is out, you know, it can be a little bit crazy, and that's when I think we'll see, you know, the bigger activity. But I think inventory, all the predictions are that the number of homes we're going to have to sell is going to remain substantially lower than the demand for at least this year and maybe more in the future.
Got it.
And I know some people are sort of predicting or forecasting once we kind of get out of the pandemic a little bit, things will sort of calm down, for lack of a better term. But it looks like inventory, at least what you've shown me, is that inventory is not really catching up to what it was pre-pandemic, right?
Correct. Yeah, and
is there a reason for that?
Yeah, there's some reasons for that, and we have a graphic, like our first graph, you can see pre-pandemic, say if you look at the slide and you can see where it's 2019, there was still like twice as much housing stock available on the market as we're seeing right now. So even before that, there was, we just don't have a lot. And a large reason for this is the lack of new construction that happened for about 14 years, starting with 2008, and another slide will show that the number of new construction, new single-family homes built were way below the average of what had been done for the last 52 years prior. So the slide there showing, you know, in the red there, that was the last 14 years, and that shows essentially number of new homes constructed. So when people are asking, why aren't there enough houses, what's going on, part of it was low interest rates, but part of it was we didn't have the building happening at that time. You look at those graphs, you're going to see more and more homes are being constructed now, single family that is, but it's going to take a while to catch up.
And famously, there was a big housing crash in 2008. So is that connected? Are we still seeing those ramifications?
Well, yeah, because when the housing crash happened, there were too many houses. Some builders went out of business. They weren't building at the rate they had been as a result of that.
So what I'm hearing is demand is still high, or at least average.
Demand is still high, yep.
We're getting back into an area where we're starting to build more homes, right? What about land? Is land available, or is that hard to get?
Land is available. My buyers that are purchasing land to build homes have found it can be tougher to find like the contractors that are ready to build right away. Housing costs to build are still pretty high. So in most cases, but not all, it's still maybe a better bang for your buck to buy a home that already exists. But many of us want a home that's custom made, met to our specifications.
Dream home.
You know, in the dream
new,
home. I mean, that's always a lot of fun to be able to do that. But yes, there is land available still. And land sells quickly too, not as quickly as a certain type of house in our market, but it certainly does.
So, Cecily, we're pushing up against the clock here, but we got more that we want to get to. So if you're willing to stick around with us, we're going to take a break and we can ask you, pick your brain.
Absolutely.
Let's do that. We'll be right back on Up North at 4. Stick with us. Welcome back to Up North at 4. We're joined by Cecily Dawson of Lakeland Realty. And Cecily, I know the last few years have been extremely hectic for the housing market. And I'm sure there's maybe a few people out there watching right now in their living room looking around going, oh man, I bought this house, the price was high, but you're telling us don't worry about that, right? It's always a good investment.
Well, it's good to be well informed for sure.
Right.
So homes did sell for a lot more than we were used to around here in the last couple of years. So I do get a lot of questions like, well, what is the current value? Is it going to go down? It was such a crazy rush to buy this house. And what the predictions are from the experts who review these types of things in the housing market, nationwide, they're indicating that this year, homes might decrease in value between 1% and 3%. So when you look at that, it's really not a lot. Home values going down basically a few $1,000s maybe. But over time, as we're going to see from some of these graphs here, historically they've always gone up. So this one here shows an increase over time. So the blue indicates if you bought a home for $400,000 last year, this year we're in the red, you might lose, they're predicting, again, 1% to 3% value, but then it's going to continue to go up incrementally.
Right.
And that's what the trends we've seen nationwide over time in the United States is that overall you're continue to see just appreciation.
There'll be dips and
So
peaks
don't
and
panic,
valleys
don't feel bad, don't think you made a bad decision because over the long haul, your home that you're in now will appreciate over time.
Sure, and we've seen, I've seen as a realtor a handful of homes that someone purchased in the last couple of years at a high dollar value that has been put back on the market for some reason or the other, and they're usually selling pretty close to what they made the purchase for. Not always, but in most cases.
I'm curious as to the mix of people buying vacation homes and people wanting to, move in and have jobs here. Is that a 50-50 mix or what is that?
I don't know the answer to that, Jeff.
Okay.
I see in my sphere of clients, I say it's about 50-50, but my day-to-day work is most usually with like someone that's a single, like buying their personal residence, because those are the people that are already here and I'm seeing them face to face. My weekends are more filled up with people coming from somewhere else to
Yeah, and
purchase
speaking
something.
of those people, how do they get started? Where does the home buying process start?
Yeah.
Okay, great question. The first question is figure out what you can afford and if you qualify to buy a home. And so communicating with your lender to find out what's available, financially what you need to do to prepare yourself to purchase. Having that ready, it's great to have a pre-approval letter, excuse me. And then communicating with a realtor. So the realtor will help you know what questions to ask, like what area do you want to live in, teaching about the different areas or the size of the home, or just asking the right questions. And so that's what we do with people as well. How long are you going to live here might be a question I ask. If someone's planning to retire and live in that home until they're 90, then maybe the recommendation is something that's on a single level because ambulation is going to be a little more difficult when you're older. So the realtor is going to help the buyer identify what some of those things are they might need.
That sort of thing.
And I can tell you for sure, in this market without a lot of homes, you really need to be flexible as a home buyer. If you go in with a list of exactly everything you want, there's just not really a lot of choices. And so the people that have been able to get a house in the last couple of years have been a little bit flexible on what they're willing to have work for them as a home.
So keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind, yeah.
Open mind for sure. So Cecily, one last thing though I wanted to ask you while I had you. You mentioned to me in the winter months, business slows a bit, so you tend to work more on your marketing because there's always work to be done, things to make improvement on. I am curious though, have you thought about using a dog during your tours just to kind of provide, because I don't know if he's leaving your side here.
Yeah, I know there are agents that bring their dogs in the car. I'm not that person. But they're on my marketing for sure.
It's for sticker shock, right? When you see the price of some of the homes these days.
Yeah, you need
Look at this cute
animal
puppy,
support to keep your emotions in check when you're at the showing,
I couldn't let that one slide without you going. But
we learned so much today. Like seriously, every time you're here, like we learn something new, and the market's always changing. How can people reach out to you if need be?
Well, maybe your graphic online has my phone number, or I'm Cecily Dawson. If you Google my name or my company, Lakeland Realty, easy to find me there.
Okay.
Easy enough.
Perfect.
Social media, any of those places.
Perfect.
We got you.
All right, well,
We found her. We got you.
We found her. So you guys can find her too, right at home. All right, Cecily, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I'm glad to have you on. And we should do this again here.
Sure, anytime.
in
It's a
the
lot of
future.
fun. Thanks, guys.
We're going to take a break on Up North at 4. Then Jeff and I are going to do house shopping.
Oh,
We'll
geez.
explain after the break.
Oh, it's excellent.
Such a lovely building.